Hello everyone, welcome to my second EV Ramblings update show. I'm going to be doing these regularly and I'm going to be evolving the process, what I'm going to cover on it, but my primary focus is going to be answering some of the questions that you pose or the comments on my multiple videos and talking about the videos that I have either produced or will be producing in the future. So I'm going to start with some updates, some news that happened recently. The new Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid electric vehicle is available in Canada now. I got a hold of the local dealership and it looks like they're interested in letting me borrow one for a good afternoon to get some really good video, hoping to do like a full interior 360. I think I'm going to try to drive it, well I'm trying to decide where to drive it, if I want to drive it out towards like Port Renfrew and compare it with my Volt video that I just uploaded, or drive it more where I took like the BMW i3 and the Kia Soul EV as a comparison. Looking at it, it's starting at about $43,000 Canadian. It has a 12 kilowatt hour battery, and they're saying it's only good for about 35 kilometers of range, which seems like really low to me. My Volt is a 10 kilowatt hour battery, and like I can get considerably more than that. But of course, we're talking about quite a large SUV, so it'll be interesting to see kind of what range I can get out of that vehicle. But it's all-wheel drive, it's a big vehicle, it's a segment that a lot of people want, so it's really exciting to see this finally available. Now, what else going for updates? I did upload my video regarding electromagnetic radiation, and I'm going to be posting links in the comments down below that video, and I also did drive out to Port Renfrew in the winter range for my Chevy Volt, so just look in the comments for links for that. But back to the electromagnetic radiation, I had lots of interesting response to that. And I was reading through the manual a little more, and I actually came across something interesting. You probably can't make this out, but they have a radiation index, and they have stars to rank the radiation levels for things. And there's some interesting stuff in here. They're saying like security check radiation is a 1-star index. The higher the stars, the bigger the exposure. Keyboards and mouse is 1-star, TV set is 2-star. Anyways, X-ray radiation is 5-star, and hair dryers are also 5-star. So I want to just see what happens. So we're going to turn this little beast on. I've actually already had people request to borrow this from me locally. So, okay, I think that's, okay, so we're sitting at, wow. There's actually, it's showing an electric field. That's something we didn't see before on any of them. What's our maximum? It's definitely this. I'm holding it right on it. Huh. 1,299 of the electric field radiation. We didn't see that before at all. Okay, so let me put it back to, let's turn this thing on. Oh yeah. All right, so, we actually, for the electromagnetic radiation, I saw it hit 19, and then it just went to a steady 1. So, this hairdryer has significantly more electromagnetic radiation than an electric vehicle. All right, so that's done. What else am I going to talk about? Okay, so yeah, the second video that I uploaded recently, I had driven out to Port Renfrew, and that's the same trip that I took 2 summers ago to compare to the second generation Volt. And this was more in the winter with heat on, and basically what I achieved 41 kilometers, which was significantly less than what I had before. So that was, it was surprising. But then I looked at I had another person in the car, I had luggage, some more weight. We were using the windshield wipers because it was raining quite a bit, and the heat. The heat was estimating being used about 31% around the whole time. And we were cycling between just regular cabin heat and also defog. And the defog even ramps that up even higher. So it would seem with my test that the actual, what the car is telling you that it's using is real. And so, yeah, that was an interesting thing. So I encourage you to watch the whole video. And the second part of that, I didn't record a video for this. I saved it for this update. when I had an energy meter, which I showed on the previous my previous update video, which would measure how much energy was being consumed, and I had suspected that my car had lost some capacity, some battery capacity. So when I got back from the trip, I plugged this meter into the wall, plugged the charger into it, because I do use the regular 110 outlet to charge that car exclusively. And surprisingly, when it was all done, it had used 12.32 kilowatt hours of power. Now, the car is supposed to have access to about 10 kilowatt hours. So that's kind of what I would suspect, given like there's going to be loss when you're charging things. So yeah, I don't think the car has lost any capacity, which is, it's fantastic. I really thought it had, and I was going to take it to the dealership to get it checked out, but I don't think I will anymore. So that's about all the updates I have. Once again, I'm hoping to get in that Mitsubishi Outlander. That should be in my next video. But now I want to move on to viewer comments and questions. And I'm going to highlight here some of the viewers that have mentioned, have commented or have questions. And I've replied to all of them on my videos, but a lot of those get buried, right? So the first one is from user Joe3545U, and he was commenting on my last January update. And he asked, do you feel that there are better suited Chevy dealers for electric vehicle repair? Joe owns a 2017 Volt and has been to 3 different dealers for service so far. The car is usually kept for 3 days with diagnostics, and then they call the GM for technical support, and then they order the parts. He doesn't believe that parts are in inventory for the 2016, 17, and 18 model years, and he's not sure about the 2011 through 2015, and basically he's asking what's my experience with this. So I've only actually ever taken my car to one dealership. I have access to about 3 of them in my area, but I've only ever gone to one. And they've actually been pretty good. But I think one of the things that I've been lucky with is I have had virtually no issues with the car itself. I have had issues, just like regular maintenance issues, like with oil changes. They've told me to come in like 6 months, and then they told me to a year, even though the manual says it's every 2 years or 40,000 kilometers. They told me like I'd be really foolish to wait that long. So I see them trying to like get more money out of me, but I've only ever had 2 things break with the car. The first one was actually my 110 charger, and it just stopped working entirely. And that's actually covered under the 8-year warranty. So my car's 2011, it's still within that 8-year. I just took it in, and they actually had one there, which they just swapped out, which was really surprising. And then the second issue was on the 2011 Volt, and I think the 2012 still, the little charge door, it actually has a little motorized mechanism that you can control with a remote or with a push button inside the car. So you push that, it releases this mechanism, and the door swings open. This little electric plunger or whatever had just stopped working entirely. And so I called them up, and I told the dealership what's going on. I said they actually had the piece in stock, which was once again really surprising because they didn't really sell a lot of these cars, and the 2011 was only US only. And so I took it in, they replaced it under the 8-year warranty once again, and it was good to go. But like this plunger though, I see it being like a big issue in the future, and with newer cars they move you just go outside and you push on it. It's like you would to open up like a gasoline cover or whatever, which is way more simple than what I have in my car. But no, I would say that like my experience has not been the same as you. But my in-laws actually, I convinced them to buy a 2017 Chevrolet Volt, so same as you, and they have actually had a lot of issues with that car. What was it? They've had a lot of issues with the infotainment system, which I know with the comment question or talking with you on the comments, you've had issues with. They've also had issues with the steering wheel. It wasn't canceling the left and turn signals, and I know the car, like they've had to wait quite a while to get parts in. So it would seem that the second generation Volts, that the reliability is a little bit less than the first generation, and that it is true, I would say, that a lot of the dealerships aren't stocking the parts on it, and unfortunately they have been selling a lot more of these cars, so there's a lot more there, and you have a lot of technicians or salespeople or service people who just don't have experience with this type of vehicle. So I think people are going to experience a lot of what you have experienced. I have had though, like I've tweeted, I've sent, whenever I've had kind of issues with my car, I've sent to Twitter, and I've included Chevrolet Canada and Chevy Electric and all that. And I've had like people reach out to me from like the Chevrolet electric department, calling me saying, hey, you know, if you ever have the future questions or issues, call us first, and then they will actually do a lot of the legwork for you. So maybe look into that. Okay, moving on. The second one I'm gonna, this was a comment on my Nissan Leaf buyer guide, and I've had this up for a while. This is from Dusty Dinkelman, and he's saying, it's 2018. I'm all in on buying a used Leaf. The question I have is, would buying a 4 or 5 year old Leaf be a wise idea? I'm on a budget and I'm looking to get into an EV. This is an excellent question. And actually, one of my more recent videos, I took my 2012 Nissan Leaf for a drive, because it's actually, my wife owns that car and I don't drive it very often. So I took it for a nice long drive to see what the range is now that it had lost 1 bar capacity. And I kind of talk about whether I think people should buy a first generation Nissan Leaf, and it was really conflicting on that, because the car still is in excellent condition, it still runs great, it does everything I need it to do. Like, I think if you have the money though, it's not a good idea to buy a first generation Nissan Leaf. Like the newer second gen EVs, like the Bolt or the 2018 Leaf, they offer such huge benefits over the first generation in terms of like range and just, I don't know, maturity of the product itself. But if you are looking for a budget price, the prices of first generation Leafs are insanely low, like compared to the purchase price of them. And as long as you are okay with the range that it has, and like it's serving a function, like let's say you are using it to commute back and forth Monday to Friday or whatever, then yes, I think that makes perfect sense. And if you have a second vehicle to back it up, it makes even more sense. So I would say do it. All right, the third one, I have 5 of these to go through. This was on my 2011 versus 2017 Chevrolet Bolt video, so this is the one that I did a couple summers ago. The user is Casey Crow, and Casey asked, with so many great deals on the Gen 1 Volt, I am really torn between it and the Gen 2. After much research and watching your video, I think I'll be buying the 2015 Gen 1 Volt very soon. The deals here in Cali are just too good. And I have to agree with you. Like this would be a tough one to do, but I think with the discussion we just had a little bit earlier about reliability and things like that, as long as your regular driving falls largely within the electric range of the first generation Chevy Volts, I don't see a reason why not to buy one, especially if in California like the prices are rock bottom. I think going to the second generation one it's not as important with an extended range EV where you have the gas motor, because you can go those long distances still with the first generation Volt. It's just how long your initial electric vehicle range is. So yeah, if you're within 60 kilometers on your regular daily, get a first generation for sure. And then EV Trekker 13, he wrote on the Electromagnetic Radiation video, which I uploaded recently. He said, it may not be just the electric motor in the Volt or the other cars, but also the OnStar system. There's always a radio frequency at work in these connected cars. And this is true. That's something I didn't talk about and I didn't really think about. But what's interesting is on my Nissan Leaf, which intended to be actually lower than the other 2 cars, the 2G connectivity was completely disabled by the dealership via a recall or a mandatory update in Canada, at least, because that band is no longer supported and there's no update hardware. So I don't think that car actually has any connectivity in it anymore, whereas the Volt, the OnStar is active. And on the Kia, like that was kind of a top tier version. I imagine it has the Volt connectivity as well. So, I can't turn those off to see if there's a difference, but that's a fantastic comment, and I think that definitely contributed to it. So thank you, EV Trekker. And then finally, the next comment was by user V10BTTDI, who actually comments on a lot of my videos, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Keep them coming. And he also wrote on the Electromagnetic Radiation video. And this is, he says, I think the Kia was high because it was a GDI engine with high discharge ignition system. And I would assume that any car with GDI injection would have a higher magnetic field than an older car with port injection system. He's suggesting that I should do the same test with an old diesel car or truck with mechanical injection system, and that this would be interesting for people with hypersensitivity. So this is true, and I think like this stupid little box here, I'm going to be involving this in quite a few videos, and the biggest issue I have is going to be finding some of these cars and building up the nerve to ask them if I could either go for a ride in the vehicle or drive it myself. But I'm going to be trying. I'm going to try to get some older vehicles. It would be nice to get like a carbureted vehicle as well as the older diesel with mechanical injection system, and as well as like newer diesels and things like that, just to see what's going on. So yeah, thanks everybody for all those questions. Please keep them coming, and I will pick them and highlight them here, and like I said, it could be a question or a comment. Now finally, I'm going to just ask a question to all my viewers. This is going to be like a viewer poll. And the question is going to be, what type of videos do you prefer? Do you prefer short or long? And or perhaps maybe a mix of both. I have had people comment recently that just my videos are way too long and they're very boring. And even this one's getting a little bit longer, but this is going to be my kind of discussion outlet, let's say, from now on. So I can make my videos a lot shorter. I think that's what a lot of people do on YouTube, especially with car things. They just cut them down to the basics, get a couple highlights, and I can do that. And I did experiment with that a little bit, like with my Hyundai Ioniq EV. The video I ended up with was almost an hour long, and I cut one down to about 25 minutes. And surprisingly, the hour-long one has way more views than the short one. And I had originally created this channel as a way to let people experience electric vehicles like from remotely, and I wanted to give them the full show. So I had went for the longer, kind of more drawn out things. But anyways, I'm interested to see what you think. If you can, just comment once again below with what you'd like to see in the future, and I will kind of gear my videos for that. So that concludes this update show. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.